What up, YouTube? All right, today we're doing the front locker plumbing on this 2000 Toyota Tundra. The locker was installed by a company called Pro Gear here in San Diego. Here we got a solenoid. We got some fittings that we might have to use because of the awkward angle we have on the front locker or front diff. We got a switch and a bunch of zip ties. So let's take a look underneath the truck and see what we're working with. All right, so here's the front diff. It runs horizontally or laterally to the truck, front to rear. This is the front of the truck. So you can see here the hole or fitting that they left for me to plug into the airline. The airline is installed in the carrier where when they did the ring and pinion swap and put in the ARB Air Locker. So we're going to remove this fitting here and we're going to attach a fitting that is going to turn either that way or this way. I'm going to figure out how to route it right now, but we got to get it up through the engine bay. And seeing as my compressor is on this side of the engine bay, I'm going to find a way to route it that way. Here's my engine bay. My compressor's right here. The air manifold is right there. And you can see my solenoid for the rear locker is there. So we need to put the solenoid for the other locker on this side. All right, so here's that attachment. It's like a little swivel. There's two washers, one washer here and here. So you bolt this down. This is a 14 millimeter. And we're gonna point it this way down because up way that we don't have any room that way. So we're gonna go this way, underneath, behind the oil pan, and then up that way towards the compressor. All right, before I bolt this airline in, I kind of wanted to show you the routing. So here's that swivel piece that we just bolted in. I'm gonna run the line like this. I fed it over this bracket for the front diff, holding the shaft up. And I ran it this way and under the lines up there to keep it away from the exhaust. So let's go up there real quick. So there's the exhaust, and I ran it behind these lines. These are all the hard lines. This is for the power steering. These hard lines right here, and you can barely see the bolt for the upper control arm right there. And so I ran it behind all those up through here, so we have a clean line over to the solenoid, and obviously again away from the exhaust. All right, now that our fitting's in there nice and good, now it's time to put this fitting in there. This whole side is going to go in. The larger opening is going to go on the outside. All right, so I just put some little thread tape on there so that you can have a nice seal, and I just tighten it down till it bottomed out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the airline in. And the airline, you have this brass fitting, a skinny side and a fat side. The skinny side is going to go into the opening there. The fat side is going to go towards the opening that screws in. So we're going to go like this, put our airline in, and then get this guy screwed down. So same thing, just tighten that thing till it bottoms out. And then we're just going to zip tie this guy all the way up so it's away from the heat and any moving components. All right, so you can see the access line right here. I'm not going to cut it till we have an understanding of where the solenoid is going to end up. Here's my windshield wiper tank. This is from a 96 Tacoma. I ended up just fitting it onto the fender here. I have a video about that if you want to check it out on my channel. But I'm going to remove this guy and possibly the manifold off that plate down there so that I can actually get behind the solenoid there. All right, so we got the manifold unscrewed. Had to do some weird things to get that off, but now we have some space to put the other solenoid. I took this cap that was holding the place for the solenoid there. So that's where the new solenoid is going to go, and let's get it screwed in. Well, I should have seen myself installing the front locker a while ago, but if you have the chance to install both solenoids onto your manifold before you install everything else, I would do that because you don't have to go through the trouble of doing this. But Anyway, we have this fitting right here. This is the air fitting. I just screwed it into this open section of the solenoid, and this is a pretty cool quick release. So you're just going to push the airline in there and it's just going to hold it in place. So I'll show you that here in a second once we screw this guy in. All right, so it looks like I got the line zip tied, and we're getting ready to give it its final resting place here in the solenoid. And I think I'm going to cut down the line just a little more because we have about 3 or 4 inches there so that we can cut off for the excess. All right, we got everything nice and tightened up. The airline's in there. Just make sure this connection is nice and clean before you connect it to your solenoid. And we're done pretty much here. We're gonna move into inside the cab. All right, moving on to the cab of the vehicle. You can see I got my compressor right here and the rear locker. So we need to find a place for the front locker. I'm hoping there's nothing behind here so I can cut right here to do that. If not, I'm just gonna have to cut in this area or put it on top. We'll see. But time to take this off, and you need to take off this bolt. There's one right there. There's one right there, and I think there's one in here somewhere. And you gotta kind of snake this hood latch through. Yeah, so once you got all those bolts off, just gently pry the cover off. You don't need to pull too hard. This is an old truck, so you can see where I had wired my switch and my compressor, and now we're gonna use this last one to wire up the switch for the front. Now, lucky us, there's nothing behind here, so I'm going to cut right here for the front locker. So use your best judgment on how you want to line these up. I basically put a piece of duct tape all the way across the switches to line it up. Then I'm just gonna measure out how tall this is. These have little fins, you see them right there that grab onto the plastic. So I'm gonna measure from here to here and then just mark the hole there and do my best to cut. I'm gonna use a Dremel to do that. All right, so hopefully you can kind of see how I marked it, and that's where I'm gonna cut. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna put my compressor one on this side, just because I would like the lockers to be in sequence and then not hit the front locker on accident when hitting the compressor or whatnot. So, well, be careful with your Dremel because I damaged this and I damaged this. So you always want the hole a little smaller than you think, because that's where your switch is gonna live and it needs something to grab onto. If not, you're gonna have to glue it. So like I said, I'm gonna switch the compressor over to this side, and then just push the wires through and connect them to your switch before you push it in, because if not, you're gonna have a hard time trying to put it to the pins. So there it is, my compressor switch is moved over. So now I have the other switch. So if you see on the ARB stuff, you have switch 1 and switch 2. Since I use switch 1 for the rear, switch 2 is now going to be my front locker. Anyway, this is pretty easy to follow against the diagram for ARB. You can see it's switch 1, switch 2, and it shows you exactly where the wires go compared to the numbers that are on the back of the pins. Okay, if you can see here, for some reason my front locker is not lit up. I think it might be because one of the wires is loose, but anyway, here's the compressor, and here's the front locker. Alright, and I'm not going to roll it right now, but if you can hear it disengage, it's going to have a little hiss. Watch. There it goes. And it's good to go. So I went on a run recently, and fortunately the front locker did not engage. So when I first installed it, I tested it, did sound like it actually charged up, but as far as it locking up, it did not. So I have it in the air right now. Doesn't look like it is, but I can spin the wheels. See. So we're gonna test the front and rear locker, see what's going on. Either trace the power to the switch, or possibly the line is not getting pressurized. So we'll test the power first, and then go to test the airline. Alrighty, so just to double check, I busted out the ARB manual and double check the connections. I think everything's good. I switched one of the wires and now this is lit up. So this, and I obviously took off the whole bottom piece here, but front locker and rear locker is lit. So that's the compressor. So let's see, rear locker. Let's see if I can reach it with the camera. That's on. And now this is the front locker. I can hear it, the air coming in and out of the compressor. There it is. All right, so it turns out that I crossed one of the wires. This is also why it's so important to double check your wiring against the manual. As you can see, all of them are lit up now. So I just wanted to show you real quick how you can do a final test on your locker. So if we come back to the rear wheels here, you can see that we're spinning, and the rear one over there on the passenger side is spinning opposite to the driver's side one. So now we're going to compress the compressor. All right, that's the compressor. Now we turn on the rear locker. Let's go here. There it is, locked up. And then we're gonna go to the front locker now. So there it is. Sometimes it's already pressurized, so it is not gonna go off again. But if you're in 4-wheel drive, it's in the air. There it is, locked up. So anyway, that's the conclusion of our video, front locker plumbing. If you liked it, go ahead and share it with a buddy. Don't forget to check out the Instagram channel on Dr_Omiz and at the Dirtbag Garage in Instagram. So see you out on the trails.